You are not separate from the version of you that already has the life you dream about. That version already exists. It's not some far-off fantasy or a goal you'll reach one day. It's real, and you're already connected to it. Right now. You might not see it yet, but it's like a radio signal. It's always there, waiting for you to tune in. The universe isn't just responding to your thoughts or your wishes. It's responding to who you are, moment by moment. It's about the energy you give off, the way you see yourself, and the version of you that you're living from every single day. You don't need to become someone new in the future. You need to become the version of you who already has the life you want right now. If you feel stuck or like nothing is working out, it's not because your dream is too big. It's not because you're doing something wrong. It's simply because you're still acting from the version of you that doesn't fully believe, doesn't take the leap, or keeps holding back. But the moment you shift your state of being, your life starts to shift too. Most people try to change their lives from the outside in. They work harder, hustle more, make endless to-do lists, and wear themselves out trying to make it happen. Even when they get into spirituality or manifestation, they often repeat the same mistake. They try to imagine a better life, but they don't let go of the old identity that's keeping them stuck. This isn't just about thinking positive thoughts. This is about how reality actually works. At the heart of it all is a powerful truth. You don't manifest from your mind. You manifest from your state, from who you believe you are. And that's where the real shift happens. Science has a name for this kind of connection. It's called quantum entanglement. In simple terms, it means that two things that were once connected remain linked, no matter how far apart they are. Change one, and the other changes instantly. Now imagine that on a personal level. There are versions of you out there who made different choices, braver choices, wiser choices. Those versions of you are still connected to you, and you can shift into alignment with them. You are not disconnected from the version of you that has already healed, succeeded, and created the life of your dreams. You're either aligned with that version or you're not. You're either vibrating in sync with that future self or out of sync. That's what shapes what you see around you every day. Your current life is simply a reflection of the version of yourself you're most connected to. If you're still aligned with the version that doubts or delays or holds back, that's the reality you keep living. Not because it's what you want, but because it's the identity you're still carrying. These patterns don't stick around because they're true. They stick around because they're familiar. Here's the tricky part. We often stay connected to the version of ourselves that's just trying to survive. The one who plays small, avoids risk, and repeats old habits. Why? Because we were trained to. We picked up these patterns from years of repetition, from childhood, from trauma, and from being told how life is supposed to work. We ended up believing that our current reality is all there is. But it's not. That belief is a loop. And what you stay connected to is what keeps showing up. If you're still acting from the version of you that doesn't feel ready or worthy, no matter how hard you try, your life will keep matching that version. This is why people say things like, "I've tried to manifest, but nothing works." It's not because they're not trying hard enough. It's because the signal they're sending out, their energy, their frequency, is still coming from the old version of themselves. The version that doesn't believe the new reality is already possible. And here's something most people don't realize. The universe doesn't respond to wanting. It doesn't respond to begging. It doesn't even respond to thinking about your dream life for 5 minutes a day. The universe responds to your frequency, to who you're being all the time. Your frequency is shaped by your beliefs, your emotions, your habits, and most of all, your identity. You're always sending out a signal, and that signal isn't made of words. It's made of energy. The version of you you're living from right now, that's the one the world is reacting to. So ask yourself this: who is doing the observing? Which version of you is looking at your life and making choices every day? Because the version you operate from is the one creating your reality. This is what people mean when they talk about quantum jumping. But it's not magic. It's not about wishing and hoping and waiting for something to appear. It's about making an internal shift in who you are being. It's about stepping into a new identity that matches the life you want. You don't jump by trying harder. You jump by becoming, by collapsing the old version of you that's holding everything back. When that version no longer runs the show, you create space for a new one to take over. And that's when reality starts to shift. The amazing part? You've probably already felt this at some point. That moment when you made a strong decision and everything seemed to change. That time you suddenly saw yourself differently, even just for a moment. That was a jump. That was your future self breaking through, reminding you of what's possible. That feeling deep inside, the one that says, I'm meant for more. That's not your imagination. That's your future calling you forward. And time, in the quantum field, isn't a straight line. It's stacked. That means your future self can reach back to guide you just as much as you can reach forward to meet them. You are already connected to the version of you who has everything you want. And that connection is active. Right now. The only thing stopping you from experiencing that version is the identity you're still holding on to. The universe doesn't need your struggle. It doesn't need your hustle. What it needs is your clarity, your coherence, and your alignment. It needs you to match the frequency of the life you're asking for, not with your words, but with your being. This is the part most people miss. They think it's about thinking better thoughts, or doing vision boards, or writing affirmations. And those things can help, but they don't work unless your identity is aligned with what you're asking for. You can't manifest a powerful life while still living from a powerless self-image. So the real work is identity work, frequency work. It's about shifting how you feel and who you believe yourself to be. That's when the field responds. That's when timelines collapse and new realities show up. And yes, science backs this up. Quantum entanglement is one of the most documented phenomena in physics. It proves that things, particles, energy, people, can stay connected across time and space. So why wouldn't your past and future selves be part of that? Why wouldn't your consciousness follow the same rule? You're not a lone particle floating through space. You are a living field of energy connected to different versions of you across many possible timelines. Some of those versions hesitated. Some leaked. Some suffered. Some healed. But they're all still linked to you. And the version you stay connected to most, that's the one shaping your life right now. You can't expect your life to change just by picturing success in your mind if your choices are still based on fear. Life doesn't respond to your hopes or words. It responds to what you actually believe and the energy you bring into every action. You might say you want something better, something different, but deep down, your actions often align with fear, doubt, and hesitation. That's the real signal you're sending out. And that's what life listens to. You've probably had those moments where you felt something unusual, like a dream that felt too real or a sudden emotion that didn't quite fit the moment. Maybe there were times where life felt thin, like you could almost reach through it. That wasn't your imagination playing tricks on you. That was a glimpse of the version of you who already has the life you want. That version isn't far away. They're not in some distant future. They're already part of you. You've been touching that reality without even realizing it. So the question is, how much longer are you going to ignore it? In a moment, I'm going to explain how to connect with that version of yourself on a deeper level. This isn't just about positive thinking. It's not about repeating affirmations or trying to trick yourself into confidence. It's about letting go of who you've been pretending to be and finally stepping into who you truly are. That's how you stop going in circles and start moving forward. But before we go there, take a breath. If anything you've read so far stirred something in you, something deep and almost familiar, it's not because you're learning something new. It's because you're remembering something you already knew, deep in your bones. This isn't about new information. It's about old truth waking up inside of you. If you feel something shifting as you read this, it's not random. It's your future self knocking on the door. That version of you wants to be seen, wants to be heard. And if you're ready, not for me, but for yourself, give that part of you a voice. Ask yourself honestly, what version of your life are you finally done with? Not the dream you want to chase, but the one you're sick of repeating. The one you're ready to leave behind. Name it. Say it. That's where it all begins. The truth is, you've been walking through life as a version of yourself who hesitates, who questions, who plays small. And that's okay. We all do that for a while. But there's another you, one who's already made the jump, already claimed the life you say you want. That version isn't somewhere far off. They're here. They're watching, waiting. You just haven't stepped fully into their world yet. Why not? Because you're still clinging to the story of who you think you are. You've convinced yourself that your habits define you, that your past limits you, that your personality is fixed. But all of that is just programming. It's software, and you are the one choosing what runs. You are not your thoughts. You are the one who observes the thoughts and decides what to keep. Real change doesn't come from trying harder. It comes from letting go. Letting the old version of you fall away. Most people think they need to add something to become new. They think they need more skills, more motivation, more time. But transformation isn't about addition. It's about subtraction. It's about collapsing the version of you who's been holding you back. So here's the shift. You don't need to sit around visualizing a perfect life. You don't need to chant or pretend everything is okay. That's the old way. That's the way of someone trying to escape. But jumping into a new reality isn't about escaping. It's about reclaiming. It starts with one thing, awareness. Ask yourself right now, as honestly as you can, who is the version of me that created this current life? What do they believe? What are they afraid of? How do they speak to themselves when no one is watching? Really sit with that. Don't rush through it. Notice how it feels in your body. Maybe there's a tightness in your chest, a weight in your stomach, a lump in your throat. That's the emotional imprint of the version of you that's been running the show. Now, here comes the hardest part, the most powerful question you'll ever ask yourself. Am I willing to let that version of me die? Because that's what real change requires. Not a leap into a dream, but the death of a story that no longer fits. It's not dramatic. It's quiet. It's sacred. It's the moment you stop letting the past define you. Most people aren't ready for this step. Not because the old version is better, but because it's familiar. And we cling to what's familiar, even if it hurts. We build routines around pain. We get used to the struggle. We decorate our misery and call it home. But eventually, if you're lucky, you realize you're done. You're done explaining yourself. Done waiting. Done being small. When that moment comes, you don't need to force anything. Just sit with the old self. Listen. Let them speak. Let them be seen. You're not here to fight them. You're here to outgrow them. That's how the old story fades, not with resistance, but with grace. Then, when you're ready, say it clearly. Say it out loud if you can. This is no longer who I am. I release this version. I collapse this observer. You may feel fear. That's normal. The old version of you will resist. It will try to stay alive. But it only has power if you still believe its voice is your own. And now, the moment of choosing. You don't become the new you by waiting. You become them by deciding. Not just in your mind, but in your body, in your actions, in your choices. Walk like them. Talk like them. Choose like them. Don't ask, what would they do? Ask, what do they refuse to accept? Then stop accepting it. This isn't a one-time decision. It's not a trick or a magic spell. It's a way of living. Every day is a choice to stay in the old or step into the new. And here's where science meets spirit. In quantum physics, the observer collapses the field into form. Reality literally shapes itself around who you are being. But only when you're consistent. Here's the beauty of it. The version of you who is everything you want isn't a stranger. They're not a fantasy. They are you. Already within you. Already coded in your energy. Already calling you forward. You don't have to find them. You just have to stop ignoring them. When you make the jump, everything changes. But that's not the end. That's just the beginning. The beginning of recalibrating your life to fit the new you. Because without integration, even the biggest leap will eventually fall back into old patterns. That's why this work is daily. This is the real spiritual practice. Not escaping, but staying. Not pretending, but embodying. Take a deep breath. Not just for your lungs, but for your entire being. You're here, and that means something powerful has already happened. Even if you don't fully realize it yet, you've begun to question the story you've always believed about yourself. You've taken a step that many people never dare to take. You've challenged your old identity, the version of you that kept you playing small, repeating the same patterns, stuck in the same loop. That alone is huge. It's a sign that something within you is ready for change. The shift doesn't always come with a big dramatic moment. Sometimes it starts as a quiet feeling, a soft inner nudge that says, there's more for me than this. You might not feel like you've made a big jump, but you have moved. Something inside cracked open. A part of you that was asleep is now awake. A signal has gone out into the world, not in words, but in energy. That's how transformation begins. Not with fireworks, but with frequency. And now, here you are. You've already started letting go of the old version of yourself, even if only for a few minutes. And during that time, something changed. The field around you, the energy you carry, responded to that shift. A new version of you stepped in and took the lead. Now comes the part that few people talk about, the recalibration. It's what happens after the shift begins. You don't just step into a new reality and stay there easily. Your system, your body, your mind, your emotions needs time to adjust. Like changing the channel on a radio, there can be static. You might feel confused or overwhelmed. Old emotions might rise up. You may even feel like nothing really changed. But that's just your nervous system catching up. It's totally normal. In fact, it's a sign that the shift is real. When you start living from a new version of yourself, anything that doesn't match that version starts to break down. Old patterns, old relationships, even old thoughts, they start to fall apart. But they don't go quietly. The old timeline might try to pull you back. Not because you did something wrong, but because it's what your system is used to. It's familiar, and the familiar always tries to stay in control. You might feel emotional or anxious. You might want to go back to the old ways just to feel safe. But that's just an echo. It's not truth. It's the noise before the breakthrough. This is not a test of how strong you are. It's a test of how clear you can stay. When things feel messy or uncertain, it doesn't mean you failed. It means the old code, the old beliefs, the old behaviors is breaking down. And yes, it can be uncomfortable. But discomfort isn't a sign that you're doing something wrong. It's a sign that something is being rewired. You're not falling apart. You're coming together. The hardest part is not making the shift. It's staying in it. Anyone can have a moment of clarity or inspiration. But can you stay in the energy of your new self when nothing around you has changed yet? That's the real work. That's how the new timeline becomes real. You do it not by pretending, not by forcing, but by responding to life from the new you, even when the world hasn't caught up. So, how do you do that? It's in the small things. When your bank account still shows lack, but you act from abundance anyway. When your relationship still feels stuck, but you speak from love instead of fear. When anxiety knocks, but you answer as your calm, grounded self, not your old, reactive one. Every time you choose to think, feel, and act from your new identity, you make that identity stronger. You stabilize it. And over time, the outside world has no choice but to match the change inside you. The universe doesn't respond to effort alone. It responds to the frequency you hold consistently. So instead of asking, why hasn't my new life shown up yet? Start asking, who am I being today? Because that's what creates the shift. Not the big, loud moments, but the quiet choices you make every day. You will have moments where you forget. You will slip back into old habits sometimes. That's okay. What matters is that you remember and come back. Each time you do, the old version of you loses power. It fades, and the new you gets stronger. Eventually, what once felt hard will feel natural. What once felt fake will feel real. Because it is real now. You're not pretending to be someone new. You're finally becoming who you were always meant to be. And one day, you'll look around and realize your life has changed. Not because you forced it to, but because you stopped feeding the version of you that didn't believe. You stopped reacting from fear. You stopped shrinking to fit in. You stopped playing the same story on repeat. And when that voice, the one that said you weren't ready or worthy, goes quiet, the whole world shifts with you. You don't need to wait for a sign. This is your sign. You're already inside the new timeline. So now the question is, what will you choose today that your new self would choose? It doesn't have to be something big. Just one choice, one word, one action that aligns with the version of you that's already living that new life. That's how you build the new field around you. Step by step, moment by moment. This journey isn't about escaping who you were. It's about remembering who you truly are. And every time life throws you contrast, a challenge, a doubt, a fear, you get to ask, which version of me is being called forward right now? That's all it takes. That awareness, that decision, that breath. You're not meant to live from force. You're meant to live from flow. Your signal becomes clearer with every aligned decision you make. Every time you breathe and choose love over fear, trust over control, truth over protection, you strengthen the connection to your new self. You're not jumping to another life. You're removing the blocks between you and the life that was always waiting. That future isn't far away. It's already here. And the only thing left to do is live like it's normal. Because once it feels normal, it becomes real. That's how you know the change has landed. When you no longer have to think about being different. You just are. You speak differently. You move differently. Not because you're pretending, but because you stop pretending to be someone you're not. This is integration. This is embodiment. When your choices come from truth, not fear. When you stop arguing with old thoughts because they don't feel like yours anymore. They were just old echoes from a timeline you no longer live in. And now they can't survive in your energy. That's when life starts reflecting who you really are. Opportunities come. People shift. Things align, not because you worked harder, but because you became more you. Reality isn't rewarding you. It's mirroring you. It's responding to the clearest version of your truth. So what's next? You live it. You walk it. You keep showing up, not perfectly, but authentically. When contrast shows up, and it always will, you meet it with this question. Who am I right now? Which version of me is being asked to respond? That's the code. That's the access point. You don't need to control every step. You just need to stay in signal. Stay in resonance. With each breath, each decision, each reminder, you reinforce the truth of who you are becoming. You didn't leap into some far-off fantasy. You finally stopped ignoring the version of you that was always within reach. That life wasn't impossible. That self wasn't imaginary. You were just too tangled in the noise to hear it clearly. But now the noise is fading. So here you are. Not just beginning, but becoming. The shift didn't happen by accident, and it won't disappear overnight. It will settle. It will root. It will grow stronger every time you choose to live like it's already real. Take a breath. Feel the difference. Not what you hope to feel, but what's already true in your body. That's your signal. That's your anchor. That's your proof. And if these words reached you at the right time, it means the shift is alive in you. Don't let the algorithm decide when you remember again. Stay close to this feeling. Stay close to this field. Keep this frequency alive, not just for you, but for everyone else who's on the edge of their own leap. If you're ready, share what timeline you're claiming. Not as a wish, but as a statement of truth. One sentence. One signal. Let it be your way of saying to the world, I'm already here. Because when you say it, others feel it. And when enough of us live from that place, we shift together.